Is Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars in front of the whole world to see partly what fueled and or inspired the Dave Chappelle incident the other night? Well, Howie Mandel thinks so, and he said this is the beginning of the end of comedy, and that he is absolutely afraid to step on stage. We probably don't fully understand the severity of what's happening. My friend Adam Sauce from Valuetainment had this to say.
God forbid Dave Chappelle's in the hospital with some stab wounds. Boom, the TSA reference becomes all too real. It takes, unfortunately, a freaking tragedy, a 9/11-esque horrible tragedy, Dave Chappelle, God forbid, getting stabbed tragedy, for venues to be like, dude, that we're not gonna take the risk.
Right. And I waited to make this video because I really did want to provide an insightful take on this entire situation and what it may mean for all of us.
Ruslan
Just came out right now that the gentleman who attacked Dave Chappelle will not be charged with any felonies. They will only be misdemeanors. Really wild. He had a replica gun that turned into a knife, and according to a few different news reports, no felony charges for a man who attacked Dave Chappelle at Hollywood Bowl will be filed. It's just misdemeanor charges, which is kind of crazy to think about it. Now, I'm not sure if this is strictly a mental health issue. I'm not sure if this is reflective of a deeper society issue, but that's kind of where I'm leaning and what my gut tells me regarding all of this stuff is. I wanted to tell you guys the backstory when I got into my last fist fight and what it was over and how it kind of ties into what I think is happening. I got into my last fist fight when I was in high school. And when I was in high school, there was a brand that was very popular. Some of you guys may have heard of it. It was kind of towards the phase end of Tommy Hilfiger. Well, it was super popular when I was in high school, and I had this pair of Tommy Hilfiger jeans. It was like my only like real nice pair of jeans. And long story short, I had a friend who lived in my neighborhood that I was really close with at the time. I would play basketball with him. We would catch the bus to school together. We would hang out a lot. And you know what happened? This quote unquote friend of mine ended up in my home. And when I was using the restroom, he took my Tommy Hilfiger jeans and he stuffed them in his bag. And he was also dumb enough to wear them to school the very next day. Now, the thing is, I knew that they were my jeans because I had done some engraving on the tag on the side, and there was a specific way I trimmed the edges, and early 2000s, a lot of cringe stuff. So long story short, I'm like, dude, I know that these are my Tommy Hilfiger jeans. You stole those from me. And he was like, no, I didn't. And I'm like, yes, you did. And he was like, no, I didn't. And so I confronted him about it. And he was so offended that he decided that we were going to fight over it. And so we fought over a pair of jeans. Well, before I tell you how the fight ended, what I discovered in that moment, two people looking at the same situation with totally opposite realities on what happened. And his little brother ended up confirming that he did it. I was being gaslit in the situation, and it was the weirdest type of situation that I never really been in a confrontation where someone was so committed to their reality and their truth that they were willing to gaslight me to the point where we ended up fist fighting over the situation. And before I tell you how that fist fight went, I wanted to highlight some other perspectives regarding this my truth, my reality, my feelings paradigm that a lot of people are approaching the world with right now. So it seems like there has been a shift with people pulling further and further away from objective reality and letting offense skew and drive their vision of what events transpire, that they're almost entitled to do anything. And I really appreciated this take from Abba and Preach.
Whether it be T.I. and how he was yelling after heckling a woman, he got mad what she said, or Will getting mad and then storming the stage. And we've seen a few of these incidents where people get upset about something. Like, I think we've convinced society that what they feel is more important than anything. And so if you feel hurt or you feel bothered by something, then you get to do whatever the you want. Yeah. And that's just wild to me.
Has society been coddled to the point where what you feel and your truth trumps anything else going on? Is this mentality, oftentimes exhibited on the Red Table Talk by the likes of Jada Pinkett Smith, what drives some of this outrage culture? And it led me to really appreciate this take by Joe Rogan.
If there's stuff that you cannot discuss at all because it's so hot, the subject can't be brought up. This is a nonsense way of communicating. You can't communicate like that. You can't say people can't discuss topics or discuss something that is prominent in culture right now. I mean, there's a lot of discussions about trans rights and about use of bathrooms and about trans kids, and the White House talks about it, and Jen Psaki was doing an interview and she was crying about it, sort of misrepresenting what the supposedly Don't Say Gay bill in Florida, which isn't Don't Say Gay.
So it's interesting that Rogan points out some of the tension happening in society right now, but then he goes on to say this about having a us versus them mentality.
We have to be able to look through the fog of the anger that we have for the opposite, or the anger we have for the opponent. Because the way that Democrats and the way that Republicans look at it today is there's us and there's them. And it's so polarized that anytime something comes up, anything, you want to find out what side is on what side of the issue. Is my side on this is okay, or is my side on this is a bad thing?
And as a follower of Jesus, I think it's important for me to constantly be reminded that there is no us versus them. There is no good guys or bad guys. There's just us, humanity, and one good guy who came and lived the life I couldn't live and died the death I should have died on the cross in my place so that I could have a pathway to heaven and experience heaven on earth. So I do believe that sitting down and having healthy dialogue with people you may disagree with is a great way to extend honor and dignity to people that have opposing views. I think it can minimize tribalism and polarization and ultimately live a life that blesses God. Which leads us to the sponsor of this video, our very own blessgod.shop. If you want to pick up some apparel as a reminder to live a life that blesses God, that is both high quality and sustainable, head over to blessgod.shop or hit the link in the description or the pinned comment below. My question to you guys is, as we're discussing and engaging in all of these different cultural issues, whether it's the bill in Florida, whether it's some of the jokes that Dave Chapelle has made that have incorporated trans characters in them, whether that's all the stuff we're seeing with Supreme Court, are some things just not going to be allowed to be discussed anymore? Are we just moving away from having reasonable civil discussion with people we disagree with to seek to understand before seeking to be understood, to dig beneath the surface? I get it as someone that's survived and came out here as a refugee and has a history with the Armenian genocide, which just got recognized in America. I understand that there are certain topics that, man, when I come across somebody and they leave me a comment or they try to blame the Armenian people based on what happened, I understand that it could be triggering, but from a macro society issue, are we getting to a place where we can't have dialogue, where we can't disagree anymore, where you can't have a pushback to an opinion the way Dave Chapelle did in some of his things? And is this interconnected with regards to why this happened and why this is happening to multiple comedians, multiple personalities, and this is probably going to continue happening to a certain degree. And by the way, if you're finding this video enjoyable, make sure you smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. One of the best ways to push it up the algorithm. Now, that's my question for you guys in the comments section is this a reflection of our society? Have we gotten to a place where we are just not willing to have dialogue, or are we self-correcting and things are slowly shifting to a more common sense approach where we're willing to hear each other out? We may disagree with people, but we would say, no, that's not okay. That shouldn't happen. Turning a new leaf, if you will. We're going into a new direction. I really do want to hear from you guys in the comment section about that. Now, some of you guys are probably wondering, Ruslan, how did that fight end when you were in high school? What ended up happening? It was rather anticlimactic, if I'm honest with you guys. The whole thing lasted a few minutes. I remember the person that I was fighting. He will remain anonymous for this video, but he showed up to a park across the street from where I lived, and there was basketball courts that we would play daily together with on a basketball court, and he showed up with his face totally covered in grease like he was a boxer. And what basically happened is he rushed me with everything he had. I stepped back. This is before Jesus, and boom, gave him one shot. It connected, and then he slipped and fell, and then that was kind of the end of it. I fell back, I grabbed him, I held him in a chokehold, and then I let him go, and that was the end of the fight. All over a pair of Tommy Hilfiger jeans, all because he saw a different reality, and his truth was it didn't happen. And I saw it as, bro, I know it happened. Your little brother told me it happened. This is not okay. You can't treat your friends this way. And that turned into a physical altercation, right? So again, with this guy that's a SoundCloud rapper and, you know, made a Dave Chappelle diss song and all this stuff, we don't know if it's mental health, if we're honest. We don't know if it's just strictly somebody had a psychotic break. We don't know if it's a spiritual element, or we don't know if this is the overflow of some of the wild, crazy language, but they definitely put a number on that guy, and it was not pretty in what happened afterward. No, I never got the jeans back. At that point, I let him go. He washed them and they shrunk and they looked like crap the second time I saw them, him wearing. And I just was like, man, I'm gonna let the jeans go. I guess I won the fight. The reputation around the school was that your guy won the fight. I feel like this idea of my truth versus your truth has just reared its head all in our sectors of society, culture, dialogue, conversation, that whatever somebody feels, goodness gracious, man, this is what they're on and this is what they're going to do. And you can't tell them otherwise. If you would like to watch a video about when Joe Rogan seemingly started to change his mind on Christianity based on some of the ideas that have been presented to him, be sure to click over here. All right? Peace.